Hi, everybody. Welcome to LIS456, Lecture 12. This week, we're discussing the steps required for developing a records management program. And these are things we've touched upon over the course of the entire semester, and the textbook pulls them all together over the last couple chapters. I thought it appropriate that we do the same as a means of reflection. But before that, I wanted to touch upon the issues of who a records manager actually is. We've talked about a lot of the roles and responsibilities that come with having the title of records manager, and I wanted to point out that there is actually a professional certification that exists separate from having an MLS, say, or a Master's of Science in Library Science, as you are all going to graduate with soon. And that being the Certified Records Manager test. The credentials, the CRM as it's called exam, is administered by the Institute of Certified Records Managers. And as I hope you learned over the course of this semester, records managers appear in many environments, including corporate environments. And it's a general understanding, a rule of thumb, that in some industries, in some fields, in some organizations, in some companies, having a CRM as your credential, much like you might have a CA for a certified archivist, can matter considerably in some industries, and in others not so much at all. I am an archivist and records manager in a higher ed institution, and in our industry, typically the MLS is what's looked for. In some for-profit corporate environments, a CRM is the preferred credential. The CRM exam is a 6-part exam. It covers all aspects of records management duties, and it kind of picks up like how to develop a retention schedule, how to research retention guidelines, how to conduct a file inventory, all the topics we've covered over the course of this semester. And also the 6th exam, the 6th part of this exam, is applied case studies, not wholly different from the ones that you actually have done over the course of this semester. The CRM exam, typically one needs to have 1 to 3 years working as a records manager before they can sit for the exam. However, certain substitutions are possible if you have a coursework in records management or you have a degree in LIS, in library science. Those that can waive some of the experience requirements. Many LIS programs have records management courses, such as the one you just took. And some programs actually have specific records management tracks. SLIS is looking into, I'm working with some of the faculty there to develop an advising track to help students who may have a particular interest in records management, to kind of help guide them to sort of pick and choose some of the best courses in the SLIS program, corporate libraries, some database classes, some of the classes from the technology side of the house, as well as information governance, as well as 456, which you have all experienced. Records managers can develop from can come from all sorts of different points within an organization. Oftentimes they can sort of grow out of someone who had previously worked in sales, or even in office administration or technology. But typically in smaller organizations, university archives, Simmons for one, records management also exists as a component or an aspect or a function within another job, whether you're an archivist, a librarian, or an office manager for a company. Now, all this all of this lays out, records management as a job, and I think we've kind of touched upon a lot of the different job responsibilities for records management. And I want to step back now and do a bigger picture approach and talk about how to actually move records management from just something that gets done to actually having it be a programmatic aspect to an organization. And the most important thing when any new records manager comes in is to understand the organization and its industry. What kind of risk factors exist, what's specific to that organization, as well as kind of general to the industry. And if you think back to the first assignment you did with the kind of investigation of issues, a lot of that existed as a kind of doing an assessment of risk. This next step that you would want to do as part of kind of understanding the industry and the organization is doing a risk assessment. and a SWOT analysis. And these are also things that have been touched upon by some of your earlier assignments where you're trying to get your head around these various case studies you were working on. Once you have a sense of what the situation is, the next and probably the most critical step, or one of the most critical steps, is to determine the scope of what you're envisioning a records management program to accomplish. What are the existing needs that you have identified in your previous steps, and also looking forward, prognosticating what do you anticipate as being the needs that your organization will face around records management issues. What are some strategic goals you want to work toward? This kind of gets the records management program out of being responsive and just dealing with folks want to send their records to you, and you're actually being much more proactive and getting out in front of issues and determining how you want to actually envision and measure a successful program. And then next steps are what strategies do you want to put in place to actually get toward those goals. If you want one of your strategic goals to be increased compliance with a retention schedule, a strategy might be you actually identify offices that you want to roll the retention schedule out to. And the objectives and actions that you would then implement to obtain them include the kind of communication plan and training programs that we've discussed in later assignments. The one most critical kind of thing, and I say this, and I've said this throughout the semester, is to get buy-in both before, during, and after all points of your program development, and promote your program. Get it from senior administration, from middle management, the folks who have operational oversight over specific areas, and get it from all levels of staff. From the president of your company, so they can understand why this is important, all the way down to the administrative assistants who manage records on a day-to-day basis. Look for opportunities to make the case for the value of your RM program. And a lot of this, think back to the memo that you did in an earlier assignment or the training program you did. I can't emphasize enough how important it is to understand what the value of the program is, and what and how you can best articulate the value you're bringing to the company. And of course, as always, as you implement a program, you then conduct periodic assessments. You are setting SMART goals that are specific and measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. Any of you who've worked in an organization have dealt with these SMART goals. And stick to them, and have that be something that you and your program works toward. You and your program work towards. The goal should be developmental, year over year, kind of increasing the reach of them to help your program grow. You can't go from 0 to 60 in 1 year. So you might want to go from 0 to 20 in your first year and from 20 to 30 in your next year. Know what you can do and sort of develop steps along the way that can help you get there. And the most important aspect in records management, which I hope you've picked up over the course of this semester, is be prepared for change. Change comes from all directions. It can come from regulatory changes. It can come from sort of legal requirements, the changes in legal requirements. More often it can come from changes in the way a company does business, changes in the records that are created, changes in the transactions that are happening and that the records serve as evidence of. It can be a change in software providers. It can be a change in senior leadership. All of these changes have an impact on an entire organization and in turn on the records that document that organization. So it's a very dynamic field with a lot of opportunities in it. I hope this past semester has introduced you to some of them. And if any of you have interest in pursuing records management as a career, I encourage you to reach out to me. I'm happy to talk more in depth with you. Even if you don't want to pursue records management as a career, you may well find that in an archivist job or in a corporate libraries job that RM becomes one of your responsibilities. I'm always here as an asset to you, so don't hesitate to reach out to me. And I hope you found this lecture a fair summary, tying out some of the threads of the semester, and I hope you found the course as a whole illuminating and valuable. We'll catch up later, and thanks for listening, and take care.